sooner or later, we're going to have to pay the piper for the actions taken during the lockdown. Now, the UK had many different options. It chose to go down the fairly draconian path of completely locking down society. We had the options. We had the Swedish model, we had the Dutch model of maybe keeping the economy somewhat open, and it probably wouldn't be as economically painful, but we chose the path that we chose, and now we're probably going to have to face the consequences of this. So this is from Politics Home. Article coming out today: Treasury considering tax rises and public sector wage freezes to pay £300 billion coronavirus bill, leaked documents show. Rishi Sunak could be forced to hike income tax, end the pensions triple lock, and freeze public sector pay to try and meet the multi-billion down costs of the coronavirus crisis, according to a leaked document. Now, I was on social media this morning, and a lot of people that I know that voted for Boris Johnson are up in arms about this. They're supposedly voting for this right-wing government, although I would argue a one-nation Tory government is actually a centre-left party, but that's by the by. People are saying, well, they voted Tory, they voted for their local Conservative MP, they should be low tax, pro-business. Well, when you lock a country down and you start running budget deficits in the hundreds of billions a year, you probably should expect some tax increases. Now, who knows how big the deficit's going to be this year, but we have some idea. The Treasury's base case scenario for the year now forecasts that Britain will end with a £337 billion budget deficit, a sharp rise on the £55 billion forecast in March. And the worst case scenario suggests the figure could soar to $516 billion in the current financial year. So you could be looking at a budget deficit this year alone that's approximately 10 times higher than was normally predicted. Now, I think tax rises, a hike in income tax, a cut in public sector pay, freeze on public sector pay, is probably the best possible outcome, because the other options we have are going to be a lot more painful in the long run. So when Andrew Bailey, new governor of the Bank of England, came to his seat in March, he said this: radical money printing plan being considered by the Bank of England. Now, radical money printing buys you some time, it kicks the can down the road, but long term it's inflationary, long term it's bad, especially for the poorest in society, poor people that are very inflation sensitive, right? So if the majority of your income goes on bills, goes on food, goes on electricity and gas, and you get inflation, that's not going to be good for your standard of living. If you're very wealthy, if you are quite savvy when it comes to investment, you can move money around the world, you can put it in different assets that benefit well in a high inflationary environment. But money printing is very bad for poor people. But this is something that Andrew Bailey suggested when he took the seat as governor of the Bank of England. This came out yesterday. So this is from the Deputy Governor. Bank of England must weigh up negative interest rates, says Deputy Governor. The Bank of England Deputy Governor, Ben Broadbent, has raised the possibility of negative interest rates in the UK. He said the Bank of England had to think hard about the challenges they pose. Now, negative interest rates, again, aren't good if you're a saver, if you are a pensioner, you're living off money you've accumulated over your life. Negative interest rates aren't good. They distort the market. They make it very hard to price assets because the market is completely distorted, right, by central banks, central government intervention to completely distort the interest rate markets. I mean, interest rates are very distorted at the moment with the amount of QE we have with central bank intervention, but this completely essentially breaks the capitalistic model. You now have complete central planning in the money supply, and things will start getting messy from the back of that. Now, with the amount of deficit we are now running, it's obviously going to be a big problem. So this is from Statista. It's the UK government total HMRC tax receipts for different fiscal years. So in the most recent data, 2018 to 2019, total tax receipts was £623 billion. We're potentially looking this year at running a £500 billion deficit. So we're looking at just a deficit this year alone being equal to the total tax taken by HMRC. So you can see this is going to get quite messy. My personal opinion, if we are going to try and pay for this just through tax rises, which is pretty much impossible anyway, you're not going to basically double the total tax receipts that HMRC receives in a year, right? Especially as unemployment rises, as companies start folding. So they're losing tax receipts and they're running a huge deficit. But if they were to attempt to do it through just raising taxes, that would probably be the most honest way to do it. I mean, my personal opinion, I think the lockdown has been a huge mistake. We're going to pay for that dearly over time. We're going to start seeing countries like Holland, like Sweden, accelerate ahead because they haven't taken the draconian steps we have. However, we've taken these choices. Even if we end the lockdown tomorrow, it's too late. The damage is essentially done to the economy. The unemployment will continue to rise. The depression is now, the wheels in motion for a very large recession / depression now in place. But I thought it was an interesting one anyway. I found it quite funny. Some of the right-wing voters that I'm friends with on Facebook, I found it quite funny. They were up in arms that they voted Tory and they're essentially getting centre-left policy, or quite far-left policy, in fact. But that's One Nation Toryism. That's why I didn't vote for my local Conservative MP this time round. I'm not sure I ever voted Tory. But yeah, it's just an interesting one, guys. If they were to pay for it through tax rises, this is the most honest way to do it. I think they will print money, because there's no way you can pay for a £300 to £500 billion a year budget deficit by not just trying to monetize it. I think that's the road they're going to go down. They've made loads of signals that QE is on the table. QE will probably be announced as we come out of lockdown. I think Andrew Bailey's looking to assess how bad things are. I mean, he's kind of predicting this V-shaped recovery. I don't know where he's getting his data from this V-shaped recovery. Just from being an average Joe on the ground, it doesn't feel like a V-shaped recovery to me. It feels like an L-shaped recovery, i.e. you drop off a cliff and there's little to no recovery. That's just how I feel at the time. But let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one, guys. Radical money printing, is this the way out of this, or do you think we can pay for this as the Treasury considers with tax rises? There's basically no way. They're going to have to destroy the currency to have any attempt at monetizing this debt, in my opinion. It's only going to get messy before it gets better. Personally, I'm not too sure if it's ever going to get better. My only hope is that they can kick the can down. From a selfish point of view, all I want to see now is they kick the can down the road long enough that my children get to a point where they're kind of big enough and robust enough that if a large economic collapse happens, but that's only my selfish point of view, that's the only way I'm looking at it now. If they can kick this can down the road another 3, 4, 5 years, I would, from a personal point of view, be quite happy. But it's going to certainly get messy before it gets better anytime soon. Love to know your thoughts and opinions on this one, guys. Are they going to monetize this debt? Can we just pay for it through public sector pay freezes and income tax rises? I certainly don't think so. Thanks for watching the video, guys. As always, like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.